Tech Sideline is presented by First Bank and Trust Company, the bank that puts you first. They can meet your banking and financing needs for personal, agricultural, business, commercial, mortgages, and so much more. Visit firstbank.com to learn more.
What's up, Hokie Nation, and welcome into episode 464 of the Tech Sideline podcast. The transfer portal cycle continues to spin. Virginia Tech men's basketball gets back on track, and what do the next couple weeks look like for the Hokies? All that and much more coming up on episode 464 of the Tech Sideline podcast, which starts right now. And we record on Monday, January 12th, 2026 from the Tech Solutions Studio in the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. Remember to like, subscribe, and refer the show to a friend. I'm your host, Carter Hill. To my left is our lead analyst and columnist, Chris Coleman. Across the way is our managing editor, Mr. David Cunningham. To his left is our senior staff writer, Andy Bitter. Nick Brown, our director of media, is producing behind the scenes. And we are so thrilled you could join us on your Monday afternoon. Guys, Substation's back in Blacksburg. That's the biggest news of the day. I know, Andy, you're a huge fan. David, you're a huge fan. Are you a Substation fan,
I like
Chris?
Substation.
Okay. You guys excited?
Yeah,
a little bit, yeah.
Absolutely. They asked on Instagram. They asked some people to put some photos in there from the old place to make a collage. So there are a couple pictures of me in there. I don't know. Did I ever tell you that I in college I collected Substation styrofoam cups?
I think you have told me that before.
How many do you have?
Well, no, this was when I was in college. I probably collected 40, 50 of them. And I went and took a graduation picture outside of Substation with my cups.
Nice.
That picture is now in the new Substation.
Really?
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture later.
Let's get to the transfer portal. Obviously, everybody wants to talk about what is going on, one in Blacksburg and two across college football. Chris, we'll start with you. As of 1:58 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, January 12th, Virginia Tech has added 20 transfers. 8 of them from Penn State. That does not include Ethan Grunkemeyer, just in case he is not officially committed, but he seems like he's going to eventually be in the boat. What are your overall takeaways when you look at this transfer portal class as it is today for Virginia Tech?
We knew it would be a lot of additions, and it's been a lot of additions. We didn't know what type of players he would target. The biggest takeaway for me so far is that how many guys are in this class with just 1 year left? They've only signed 1 or 2 guys with just a year left. I think it's maybe just the wide receiver from
Bill Davis.
Him and Marlon Jackson. Jackson and Jaquez White.
I thought Jaquez White. Okay, right. So, but the vast majority have 2 or more years left, which I agree with, because I think Virginia Tech's going to be a much better football team this coming year. But they also play their 3 toughest games on the road on paper. Duke. Excuse me, not Duke. Don't laugh, Nick. Duke's the ACC champs. Miami, SMU, Clemson, all on the road. Signing a bunch of seniors and then having to redo your team all over again next offseason wouldn't have made a lot of sense to me for this year. I think they've put their chips in the basket for 2027 because that's a much more favorable schedule. Plus, Franklin likes to build. He talked about Tech was going to take a larger portal class than he would normally take this year. And by taking so many guys with multiple years left, you kind of ensure that you don't have to keep doing this, year after year.
Yeah, I mean, he said that in his introduction press conference. It's like you live in the portal, you die in the portal. It's going to be an every year thing where you're rebuilding. He doesn't want to do that. So, yeah, a lot of long-term guys that they've brought in. But I do think they address some short-term things as well, and perhaps need to a bit more to fill out a lineup here in this first year. I think if you want to be competitive right away, going from a 3-9 roster to whatever it will be next year, I think you do need some short-term fixes in there as well. They've done that with a few players on this thing. I'm always interested to see what these players will be like once they get on the field, because you see what the profile is, you see what the transfer ranking is. I've seen some really well thought of transfers in the past that haven't amounted to much once they've gotten into a new stop, and I've seen some guys that you thought were sort of afterthoughts. You go, what's that guy going to do? And he turns out to be one of the better players on the team. So, like all recruiting rankings and things like that, it's fine and dandy to put it together, see what it's like on paper, the X number of 3 stars and 4 stars and all that stuff. But how do they fit into the system that Virginia Tech's going to have? How do they take the coaching that they have? Are they better than their circumstance was previously that you don't even know? I think that's all stuff that has to be answered in the spring and the summer.
I was going back and reading some comments on commitment articles from portal players in the past, and Bishal Tootin commits to Virginia Tech out of North Carolina A&T, and there were comments about like North Carolina A&T really, and then one guy in the comment section was like, he's not fast enough to play at this level.
right. The guy who had the fastest time of the combine.
Did you see what he did yesterday for the Jaguars in the playoffs?
Yes, exactly. And then there was the other guy who committed same class from Alabama, the former
Curtis Perry.
Curtis Perry.
Yeah.
People were like, awesome, we got a player from Alabama. He's going to be great. Well, it was the opposite, right?
Right. I mean, you look at some of the best players they've taken out of the portal in recent years. Tootin, North Carolina A&T, Jalen Lane, Middle Tennessee. I mean, Marcellus Hawkins was a Division II guy.
That's right.
Coming in last year, and I thought he was one of the better signees that they have. So we can look on paper and go, oh man, Ohio State, Eric Mensah. It's like, well, we'll see. He hasn't really played yet in college. But a lot of these guys that come from smaller schools that really develop, I mean, there's a team playing in the national championship game here in Indiana. Did pretty well recruiting some smaller schools, group of 5 type schools, bringing players up. So that is a way to win as well in the portal.
I think if you look at, like, you go down the list of guys who have signed, in terms of proven guys, you got running back Bill Davis, who came from Louisiana. You've got Cam Chadwick, cornerback from UConn. You've got Jaquez White, cornerback from Troy. You've got Nathan Totten, the Marshall punter. And what do we say? Quayshawn Brown, the wide receiver from Duke. Marlon Jackson, the wide receiver from Louisiana Tech. And then Luke Reynolds, the Penn State tight end. So that's what, 6-ish guys that in this class that are proven. The rest of them are basically guys with 3 or 4 years of eligibility that were highly rated for the most part out of high school that haven't done anything. So they're unproven. And we always talk about this, Chris, where you can look and say, well, there's a good chance a lot of these guys pan out, but at the same time, there's a chance that some of these guys don't pan out.
Because even if they're good players, there are so many guys that are like redshirt freshmen. Like, just look at the defensive end. There's like 15 defensive ends on the roster.
Yeah.
Half of them are like redshirt freshmen or true freshmen, right? So those guys are going to get in each other's way. You're not going to keep all those guys. So that's what happens when you sign a large number of players. It's the same thing on the offensive line when you've got 20 guys and so many of them are around the same age. I do think there's a higher ceiling, a higher talent level now. So the competition in practice for those spots is going to be really good. And that's going to help.
I think the key is just adding the depth of talent. You need to have a bunch of guys. I mean, you look at the number of just 4-star players from high school that they've brought in, that, whether they were high school players and then now transferred in, they've increased the number of blue chip guys that they have on this roster. Now, does that mean they're all going to be good and achieve that level? No. But I think if you throw enough of them into the pot, that guys will emerge. And, that's what you want. You want to have competition and the best rise to the top there. And I think the more talent that you throw into certain spots, the better that situation is going to be when the victor emerges or the first team emerges.
Of the 20 offensive linemen, 9 of them are redshirt sophomores or older, meaning the other 11 are redshirt freshmen or true freshmen. Of the 15 defensive ends, 6 of them are sophomores or older, which means 9 of them are redshirt freshmen or true freshmen. It's a very young roster in some aspects, but as Andy just said, I think you will see that kind of competition aspect, and there are going to be guys that are still going to leave. Like, in terms of numbers, guys will have to filter out still, but as Chris always says, the numbers will work themselves out.
David, you hit on 2 guys that I really wanted to touch on. Quayshawn Brown, wide receiver coming in from Duke. Believe he's got 2 years of eligibility left. And then Luke Reynolds, who I believe has, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 years? 2 years of eligibility. Tight end coming in from Penn State. Those are 2 guys that are getting a lot of attention on the offensive end. What do you like about those 2 ads, Mr. Coleman?
Oh, I love Brown.
Okay.
He is as a redshirt freshman in 2024, he caught, I believe it was 41 passes. He had 1 drop all season for a 2.4% drop rate. This past year as a redshirt sophomore, he caught 64 passes, had 1 drop all season for a 1.5% drop rate. This guy is really sure-handed. He makes plays. He's had multiple 100-yard receiving games. You watch him, like he goes up and makes catches, like contested catches, while he's getting hit, despite his size. Like he's the same size as me, basically. And he's out there getting hit by safeties and linebackers and bigger corners, coming down with the ball, doesn't drop him. I think he's a gamer. He's also a good punt returner. And I think he will probably take that role next year for Virginia Tech.
Good head on his shoulders, too. He scored that touchdown in the Sun Bowl and immediately sought out the Frosted Flakes inflatable bowl.
That was great.
Jumped
Awesome
into it.
photo. Awesome
I mean,
photo.
that's just, you know, you're immersed in the game and you just understand the game situation. You go, hey, if I'm on this end of the field and I score a touchdown, I'm jumping into that inflatable
I mean,
bowl.
it's a bowl game. You have nothing to lose.
Andy just
Yeah.
said that is content.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and-
it's
and-
right.
Now, why doesn't the Duke's Mayo Bowl just put like a kiddie bowl of
giant
mayo out there in the end zone?
It's like the Salvation Army thing at the Dallas
Yes, I was
Cowboys.
going to say with
Oh
Zeke
my
Elliott.
gosh.
Yeah.
You talk about drop rate, though. I mean, it seems like he's a slot guy a little bit. Virginia Tech's slot receiver this year that got the most snaps was Takai Heath, and we harped on
12% drop rate.
I was gonna say we harped on Kyron Drones a lot of times, and yes, I know he wasn't a great passer, but there were some times where he hit Takai Heath in the hands and he dropped passes.
You're exactly right.
And I'm just thinking about the difference, right? You get a guy now that he's got sure hands.
Right. And thing is, Brown has done it with two different quarterbacks. So he dropped one pass with a quarterback in 2024, totally different quarterback in 2025. Sometimes quarterbacks throw a type of ball that just it's not catchable, right? And Drones might have been that type. But other guys just throw a soft, catchable ball. No, but this is a guy who's shown he can throw it, he can catch it with two different quarterbacks. Who was your other? Reynolds?
Reynolds,
Oh,
tight end, yep.
yeah, okay. Big high ceiling guy. He actually put a spin move on the Clemson defense in the bowl game, which you don't see tight ends do. Was a 5-star coming out of high school. I think he's one of the top overall players in the portal. His best football is still ahead of him. He was mostly a quarterback in high school until his senior year. Like he was splitting time at quarterback with like a future Navy signing up through his junior year. Made the full-time switch to tight end as a senior. Probably should have redshirted as a result that first year at Penn State because the tight end position was still relatively new to him. But he's got a high upside. He should just be hitting his stride when he gets to Virginia Tech. And so I think Virginia Tech's going to have a tight end heavy room this year. They've always been a tight end heavy offense at Penn State under James Franklin. And, the Henderson kid who looks exactly like Reynolds. You could go into my article today and see
go
the
to the same
comparison.
barber,
I think
that's
Nick
for
said he's
sure.
got something.
Nick said he's got it up there.
I have it. Like, they can
Nick will add it in
False
post-production.
alarm.
Nick will add it.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, it's crazy. I think it's the hair that really makes
It is the hair.
Yeah.
It's the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Reynolds, I'm getting reports from Penn State fans that he's not good, awful. No, that's not an actual scouting report. The Penn State fans have been
They've
over
been
the top about
crazy throughout this whole process.
It's like I say, it's not all Penn State fans. It's the lunatic fringe of the Twitterati here on this whole thing. But like, you can't tweet anything without be like, oh, terrible, it's awful, got benched. It's like he's a 5-star guy. So I think you bet on the talent and you bet on the potential here in these last 2 years that a guy who, like Chris said, is still relatively new to the position.
and he's already been productive. It's not like he hasn't played.
And so I think you take, first of all, you take a guy like that every day of the week and twice on Sunday and see if you can develop him over time. But second of all, I think, high upside, you got to love a pickup like that. And when was the last time they had a tight end prospect that they brought in that was that well regarded? I mean,
Well, 5-star, never.
Logan Thomas.
Logan Thomas, right?
never played. Well, I mean, I guess he kind of played receiver that redshirt year or that first year when he was.
He caught the pass.
I guess Wake
His
Forest.
redshirt freshman year.
Yeah.
Wake, yeah.
So I guess that's the last one you would look at there, but because Bucky Hodges came in as a quarterback as well.
That lasted about.
But I
6
think you
days.
have to. I think you have to like the potential there, and you look at the size, strength combination there. Did it completely work out for him at Penn State? No, but I would trust the process there, and I would trust the history of Penn State's tight ends. They do pretty well when they're recruiting guys there. So I think if this group that's now here brought him in, they probably have a good idea of what they're looking for in a tight end.
He caught 35 passes for 368 yards and 1 touchdown in 2 seasons. And he was a 5-star by 24/7 Sports. and the top tight end in the country in that class. And I mean, he's following Ty Howell, who's the tight ends coach and offensive coordinator. And you look at this tight end.
And David Rocco.
Yeah.
The assistant tight ends coach.
Yes. You look at this tight end room, you got 6 tight ends now. Benji Gosnell, Harrison St. Germain, Jarikus Hairston, and then the 3 guys they brought in from Penn State, 2 from Penn State and 1 signee. Luke Reynolds, Matt Henderson, and then the signee was Pierce Peterson. So they've kind of revamped. They've added their own wrinkle to that room, and I think you've got an interesting mix of some really good pass catchers, but also some pretty good blockers.
They'll play a 3 tight end system to a certain. There will be some formations where they use 3 tight ends. They'll play 3 overall, and there's enough quality in that room where that's going to be a strength of Virginia Tech's offense this year, particularly with how Penn State uses. Also,
it's weird. Virginia Tech had not addressed the tight end room in a couple of years.
Oh my god!
Yeah, just in terms of bringing in recruits. I think Wimbush was the last one. 2 straight
classes without signing.
Yeah, I think Wimbush was the last one to come in. He was originally going to gray shirt, then they brought him in regularly, and obviously Jarikus Hairston developed from a walk-on to now being a competitive guy there, but. The last couple cycles, they've not addressed that room at all.
And Wimbush wasn't even like a real tight end.
He's sort of a hybrid, more of a hybrid type guy.
Like the last time they signed the tight end, a hand in the dirt tight end with traditional tight end size was Benji Gosnell, probably.
St. Germain. Were they in the same class? I think they were in the same class.
Or Daquan Wright.
Yeah, true. Daquan Wright.
Well, no, he was receiver.
He was more of a slot receiver.
Yeah.
Hey, huge game.
Huge game. Should have won the game for Ole Miss.
I know. I thought I had my bet won with Ole Miss when he caught that touchdown.
What do you like about Bryce Baker, Chris? Quarterback from North Carolina. He's got 4 years of eligibility. I know that will be something you probably hit on. Very highly recruited guy. He's with Bill Belichick for a year and now is coming to Virginia Tech.
I put his stats in my article today, which is already posted on the site, and everybody can go read if you're a subscriber. But his completion percentage as a senior was insane. It was something like 75% with 40 touchdowns and 5 picks. And basically the same numbers as a junior. So he's a guy who was really, really produced. I don't think he's like as technically as advanced as Grunkemeyer. But I when I watched his highlights, I'm like, okay, he's a guy who can throw on the run, completes a high percentage of his passes. He might be a developmental prospect, but you see potential there. Now he's only a year ahead of Hune, and he's only a year behind Grunkemeyer, assuming Virginia Tech's going to get Grunkemeyer, which I'm convinced that they are. Yeah. I'm tired of being asked about it, but I think he's a good choice to bring into the program. Now, you can still expect more attrition in that quarterback room, though. I mean, that's we'll see. I think they should probably move Brand to safety, and let the other freshman, who Keldon Ryan, fight it out with Baker for the number 2 job. I'd like to get an old head in the quarterback room to serve as a backup, but there just aren't that many guys who were like, you know what? Yeah, I'll just go here and back up for a year. Just that's how I want to end my career, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, if Grunkemeyer comes here, as we expect him to do, there hasn't really been any rumblings about him visiting elsewhere or any kind of reports or anything like that, or Virginia Tech looking at other quarterbacks. So that would kind of tell you that this is done. They just haven't announced it at this point. Baker's a redshirt freshman, correct?
Yes.
So is Keldon Ryan.
So is A.J. Brand.
Mm-hmm. Troy Hune coming in will be a true freshman. I mean, that is a logjam of quarterbacks there.
With Grunkemeyer a redshirt sophomore.
It's not like he's a 50-year senior or something like that. So we know how the quarterback thing works. Yeah. Guys will transfer elsewhere, looking for a spot to play. Pop Watson going to UMass coming up back in his
Davie Belfort in the portal again.
Yeah. So, I mean, quarterbacks move all the time. So I would not expect this room to stay like this for long. I don't know if it's a position switch, like you said, with one of the guys, or whether they want to have the opportunity to play quarterback somewhere else. But this will play itself out, and it's amazing to me if Grunkemeyer comes on board. They've already flipped the quarterback room almost completely. I mean, 3 of the 5 guys will be brand new that this staff has brought in just from middle of November.
So with that in mind, Andy, are you surprised somebody like Bryce Baker would choose Virginia Tech?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, all right.
A little bit. I think, obviously, he wasn't in the dark that they were recruiting Grunkemeyer here. If/when Grunkemeyer signs, I don't think he's going to be like taken aback by that. Like, oh my gosh, this blindsided me out of nowhere. That said, I think these quarterbacks want to go someplace where they can play quickly. And I don't know if there's necessarily a quick path for him there, but who knows? Who knows what he's been told about the competition? Who knows what kind of opportunity they've told him he'll have here? And again, sometimes you get into a situation, you get out on the practice field and you can do things that maybe the coaches didn't think you could. And then all of a sudden that makes you change your mind about depth chart and things like that. So interesting that he chose to come here, but yeah, I don't know what the compensation package was. I don't know what he was told about the opportunities here. That's kind of all questions we have to ask still.
I think we're gonna have to change our line of thinking a little bit with Franklin as the head coach, because on paper it is a little bit surprising that he would choose to come to Virginia Tech, being just a year behind Grunkemeyer, assuming Grunkemeyer comes here. But like, James Franklin is a much better salesman than any head coach Virginia Tech's ever had. So we'll probably have to get used to more things like that. Wow, I'm surprised Virginia Tech got that recruit. I'm surprised that guy flipped from Penn State. I'm surprised that quarterback's coming here. James Franklin, the effect, does that to guys.
Would you become like if it's Grunkemeyer Baker as a 1-2 duo? Are you comfortable with that?
I don't know if I'd be comfortable going to Baker. I mean, he's a very young player. But I mean, like I said, the number of Patrick Schlees running, or Colin Schlees. Patrick Schlee, where'd I get that from? the number of Colin Schlees running around that are just saying, you know what, I'd like to go somewhere and be a backup as a senior. There's just not very many.
Yeah, I just bring that up because obviously this season they recruit Grunkemeyer, but he's forced into action because Drew Aller gets hurt at Penn State. You never know with injuries who you're going to be forced to play.
Right, and I'll tell you what, the ideal situation would have been to bring in Bo Pribula as Grunkmeyer's backup. He's a former Penn State quarterback who started at Missouri this past year, was originally recruited by James Franklin, and this is how you know that it's going to be Grunkemeyer. If it wasn't going to be Grunkemeyer, then Virginia Tech would be bringing Pribula in on a visit.
And instead he's at Virginia right now.
He hasn't visited.
Yeah.
You know why he hasn't visited? It's because he knows who Virginia Tech's next starting quarterback is going to be, and it's not going to be him.
What do you got on Marlon Jackson? You talked about him earlier, David. Receiver transfer from Louisiana Tech, Chris. What do you got on Marlon Jackson, maybe?
They needed someone a little bit bigger on the outside with some size, and he was listed as 6'2", 215 on the Louisiana Tech website. Hasn't had a real prolific career, but I don't know anything about the Bulldogs quarterback situation over the last few seasons either. But he gets some added size in that room. You know, you've got Chance Wiggins on the outside, but he was hurt all of this past season. So a lot of Virginia Tech receivers, like Aiden Green's was the number one receiver this past year, but he's of a smaller build. You know, you need somebody on the outside who's big and physical, and, you know, he checks that box.
Really, the only guy they have like that that's played a little bit was Devin Alves. He got some run last year because they had a lot of injuries in that spot. So, yeah, size-wise, sort of a different piece that they add there. Again, I don't know how productive he's been in his history of his career, but you got to have some diversity of size with these guys. You look at Quayshawn Brown; he's on the opposite end of the spectrum there, 5'8", 165, I think is what he's listed as. So you got to have those quick, shifty guys, but it would also help blocking wise to have some big boys on the outside that can do some damage as well and go up for 50-50 balls.
I mean, Chris wrote he caught 46 passes for 753 yards and 3 touchdowns over his 3 seasons at Louisiana Tech. So you bring in a guy who's experienced, but it's one of those things where you don't know what he's going to be like until we get a chance to talk to Fontel Mines, into spring ball a little bit, and when they've gotten a chance to work with him. But I think he's both him and Brown. Those are guys who have played, because I think you look at this wide receiver room, and outside of Aiden Green, a lot of this room is young. Yes, talent, but they don't have the reps. You need guys with reps who have proven that they can produce.
And again, I mentioned it in the open, but as of right now, Virginia Tech has added 8 Penn State transfers. Grunkemeyer would be the 9th. Is that kind of, and again, that could change. There could be some more. For you guys, is that kind of what you envisioned? It's hard to predict, but when you look at the number that Virginia Tech was going to maybe bring in from Penn State, is around that 10 to maybe 15 number maybe what you expected there, Chris?
It was always going to be a little bit dependent on which assistants came. Like, if you get Terry Smith, then maybe you get one or two more of their defensive backs, or maybe one of their
Poindexter.
safeties if
Sure.
you bring
Same
in
way.
Poindexter. Maybe one of their offensive linemen if Troutwine had come here instead of going to his alma mater or Florida. But I think it was unrealistic to like turn over like half their roster and bring them to Virginia Tech, because that's just a silly thing to expect. But probably on the whole, it was about in line with what I was expecting.
Yeah, I thought it would be more of the recruits, that the high school recruits that he had pledged, because they had not gone to Penn State previously. So I think, yeah, probably I would have maybe thought that they could have plucked a few more starters from there. But I guess I think I'm with Chris on this one, where you go, well, what are the relationships with some of the assistant coaches they have? Because you look at the assistant coaches they brought, a bunch of tight ends come because they bring the tight ends coach. Potentially the quarterback comes, they brought the quarterback's coach, and those were the position coaches that came along with. So I think it's about right.
I think you saw what Mark Campbell went to Tennessee following Poindexter and Jim Knowles. So
My dream is dead.
yeah, I
He'll
know,
never play football for
But
Virginia
I
Tech.
say that just like that's where Poindexter and Knowles went. So I think it's about what you expect. And when we saw Franklin take basically all the recruiting class in December, and you've taken 8 or 9 guys now, pretty good tight end room, about what you expect. I think maybe there's a couple other guys. I mean, they got a wide receiver, Exenor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe there's a cornerback that's going to come. So, I mean, about what you expected, and I still expect Virginia Tech. I mean, 20 commits right now. Wouldn't surprise me if it were 30, 35 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think when I look at the transfers that have made their announcements so far, I see 8 to 9 guys that will step into a starting role immediately. A few others, like Bill Davis, will be in the rotation, and then you've got some others that are going to compete for a spot in the two deep, and you could potentially see 12, 13 starters out of this transfer for group, plus multiple others in the two deep. And let's not forget some of these returning players. Like some of these guys are going to play better with a different coaching staff in here.
Better coaching.
Yeah. I look at the offensive lineman from West Virginia who was here last year. What was his name? The starter.
Wait,
Tomas Remak.
Oh,
I put this in the Q&A last week.
yeah.
He had the worst blocking grades of his career last year as a senior, despite keeping the same offensive line coach. Every category, overall, pass blocking, run blocking, he got worse, and a lot worse. Like, he didn't forget how to block overnight. His coach didn't forget how to coach overnight. He just came into a really bad situation at Virginia Tech. And certainly he's a player who had proven in the past he was the highest grading interior offensive lineman in the Big 12, and all of a sudden came to Virginia Tech and couldn't block anybody, right?
He was also playing a new position every snap.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the season that was the case. So it was not a good environment to play good football for anybody at Virginia Tech this past season. The only group that played consistently were the running backs and defensive tackles. I think there's a lot of other players on this team who are capable of playing better than they did, and some of them, I don't know who, and I don't know how much better, but we're going to see some of these guys get better this year simply because they're in a more stable situation.
Yeah, I was going to say, stability will do a lot of these guys good.
Let's keep it rolling with Kamarian Morgan, a defensive end from Baylor. He's already been to a basketball game at Virginia Tech, and it was broadcasted to everybody across the country, sitting next to Brent Pry and James Franklin, behind Jim Boeheim, actually, on the ACC Network broadcast, which is very crazy to think about.
And 2 rows up, just off camera view,
Were you?
Will Stewart and Chris
Yes,
Coleman.
I saw you down there. I saw you down there.
And your dad.
Yeah, you were sitting in front of my dad. I saw that. Yeah, so Kamarian Morgan, why is he a good addition for Virginia Tech? He was somebody that was very sought after and is coming from Baylor to Blacksburg here at Virginia Tech.
Big framed guy. Another big framed guy. Played over 100 snaps last year as a true freshman. Not so great Baylor program this past year. Probably could have used a red shirt. But again, I think he upgrades your ceiling in the defensive end room, like so many of these other guys. And like so many of those other guys, not just defensive ends, but other players too. I definitely think he's a guy that has the potential to factor in early. I think that's going to be great competition at defensive end. I think they're going to move Elijah Fall to defensive tackle. He's technically the most experienced defensive end right now, but I think if they're going to go back to the Pry scheme, he's a better fit at defensive tackle. I think he's 288 pounds to 295 pounds, somewhere around in there.
288.
So he
a
played
biscuit from 300.
right.
A couple
right.
biscuits.
He played that defensive end role this past year that was kind of more like he was a little more to the inside rather than the edge. He was like the speed rusher going around. So I think he'll probably move inside and play defensive tackle, and he and Kamari Copeland will start next to each other. And the competition for those for those defensive end roles is going to be pretty heavy. I think Hilson from Missouri, the redshirt freshman, I think he's big time, and I think he's going to start. I don't think it's a guarantee, but that's my opinion on what will happen. But overall, that two deep is good. It's going to be one of the best competitions on the team.
You can never really trust these heights and weights when they come in from other places. But if these are correct, Morgan 6'5", 251, Hilson 6'4", 240, like those are tall, rangy defensive ends, and they don't come along often that you get guys quite of that size. I think 6'2", 6'3", you see a lot of those.
I think Hilson's bigger than that now too. I think he's over 250.
So I think it could be some very interesting athletic profiles that you have from these guys on the edge, and that always helps. That little bit of athleticism. Can it get you an extra inch here to get by a offensive tackle or something like that? I think that makes a big difference, especially in the pass rush like that. So. I like what they've done there. I think, two of the more talented guys they brought in this class have been on the edge of the line. They brought in a ton. I mean, you look down the roster of guys, it's like edge. So clearly they felt like there was a need there that they had to replenish the ranks.
And you got to trust Coach Chaos.
Yeah.
From his history in recruiting defensive ends.
Both those guys were guys that he offered at when he was at Texas A&M, right. So he's familiar. I mean, it's the same kind of thing with, I think, Justin Bell's the offensive lineman from Michigan. Guy Matt Moore offered when he was at West Virginia. So the familiarity piece, not just for James Franklin and the Penn State staff, but for the other pieces of the Virginia Tech coaching staff, like Sean Spencer, come into play. And if you watch, like Hilson tweeted some of his Missouri highlights, just like practice film, he's just torching dudes in practice. And I think we pulled it up in the office the other day, and Chris was like, "Oh yeah, that guy's good."
Yeah.
David, I'm going to go to you here because I want to give your boy Nathan Totten, punter, some love.
Special team.
Virginia Tech did need a punter. People want to dismiss, it's a punter. Virginia Tech needed a starting punter. Nathan Totten was second team All Sun Belt, I believe, at Marshall this past year. He's coming to Virginia Tech. Was only in the portal for
a day.
Maybe a mere couple of hours, but he is coming to Virginia Tech. So what are your thoughts on him, David?
Second team All Sun Belt. He set Marshall's single season record for average punt. This is a really good punter, and it's funny, like you get with special teams, I feel like a lot of these guys, with the exception of the younger Love brother, usually they are not very highly recruited. They go to camps, and there are only so many of these guys, and a guy can go to Marshall. He's from Ashland, Kentucky, which is right across the border, and you go fly under the radar, not really highly recruited, and then you break out, and this is a chance for him to go be a splash in the portal. And
this is a punter who's not from Australia.
True.
Punter who's not from Australia.
But
there's not as many of those guys.
I mean, he's really good. He was Marshall's. Here's the crazy thing about Marshall. He was Marshall's place kicker as a freshman. This year he was strictly their punter because their kicker was first team All Sun Belt. They had like a first team, second team kicker punter at Marshall this year.
So the Hokies have artificial depth at kicker now.
Yes.
True, and that's the other thing. You lost. So think about Virginia Tech's always had good punters. Just think about the last decade. You had Oscar Bradburn. You had Peter Moore, two mainstays for a very long time. Nick Velsistis was pretty good this year. You just look at some of the PFF numbers. This guy was, I think I looked it up, like the second best group of 5 punter this year according to PFF.
Right.
He's good. You also lost Kyle Lowe, your kickoff specialist, and John Love. We know how good he is, but Totten has experience there as well. So I know that flies under the radar, and a lot of people don't want to look at special teams, as a need. But anytime you can add a guy who is proven, I mean that is a plus there because you always need a punter.
He's left-footed.
Is he really? Okay.
Now, according to the pictures I'm looking at here, I'm left-footed myself. So.
Really?
No kidding.
Play some good kickball.
I can understand where he's coming from. Yeah, so they haven't. I think AJ Hughes. He was left-footed, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good punter from the past there. Yeah. So that adds nothing to the conversation. I just thought it was interesting.
So I wrote this in that. I wrote this in that story. Marshall ranked 10th in the country in punting efficiency this year, according to FEI rankings. and he was slightly below Nick Felsistis, but he's been a kickoff specialist. He can also kick. He was 8 for 8 on extra points and 4 of 6 on field goals. Made all of them inside 39 as a true freshman.
So that's as good a special teams pickup as you can get because he's your starting punter. He could also kick off. He can be your backup kicker if you need it. That's a really good pickup.
So look at the special teams. John Love, this Marshall punter who's pretty good. Quayshawn Brown, potentially as a punt returner. They've hit some important spots on the special teams. I know it's not all the returners. You actually have to have some blocking, which I think has been part of the problem in recent years here. But you've taken care of the kicking game. Looks like you've taken care of the punt return spot too. That's important stuff. That's sort of the hidden yardage.
They got their long snapper back too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, true.
Run it back. Run it back.
Run it back.
Christian Epling, shout out. I want to package 2 guys together that could also be plug and play. Keon Wiley, linebacker from Penn State, did not start there last year, but I think some people think he can come in and immediately make an impact at Virginia Tech. And then Logan Howland, offensive tackle from Oklahoma, that's coming to Virginia Tech. Could those guys play immediately, Chris?
Oh, Howland walks in as a starting left tackle.
Okay.
Absolutely no question. And then you can move Johnny Garrett back to right tackle, which I think he's better suited for.
Okay.
Howland has been perfect. He's been banged up a little bit. He's had a few games where he had low pass blocking grades, but he's also had some dominant games as well. So this isn't even close. He's your starting left tackle. If somebody can take that from him, then that means Virginia Tech's offensive line is going to be a heck of a lot better. But right now I would pretty much ink him in there as the starter at left tackle. Wiley at linebacker. He was a guy who in 2023 as a redshirt freshman for Penn State, I thought played very well and looked like he had a very good future. Then he got hurt, missed the entire 2024 season. Came back in 2025, played over 200 snaps. Was their best defensive player in the bowl game. Played well in a rotational role, so he's not like a dominant star, but he's a solid, natural inside linebacker who's been well coached at Penn State, and I think he'll come in. Right now, I would put him in as a starter on defense.
You think you would? I think it's interesting the pieces they have at linebacker because Caleb Spencer's coming back, leading tackler from last year. Noah Chambers, very promising freshman season that he had. Gabe Williams is one that intrigues me. How exactly are they going to use him? If does he go back into that star spot that he was previously? If that becomes part of the defense again, or he's coming off a pretty significant leg injury. Does he have the athleticism, the same kind of speed to play in that outside spot anymore? Do they keep him on the inside? So yeah, I'm not a linebacker expert, so I know Chris has opinions on the linebackers.
Strong opinions on linebackers.
I don't have strong opinions on the linebackers, but I think that's a nice group to start with. You lose Caleb Woodson from that rotation there. That's a blow, and even a guy you see him go to Alabama, obviously a pretty talented guy there. But I think the linebacker room will be an interesting one to watch because I don't really know who's going to merge as the starters in that room.
Should we bring? Go ahead, David.
I was going to say Wiley. He has at least 1 year, if not 2, because he could potentially get a medical waiver. 341 snaps, so he's a little bit of experience. I want to touch on Howland though.
Yeah,
he's from New Jersey, and he's played about 727 snaps at Oklahoma. He's dealt with a couple injuries. So if he can get over the injuries, I think he's your starting left tackle. But he's another guy, like I said, Westfield, New Jersey, from the Hun School up in Princeton. He was a 4-star guy. I think they're like some of these guys, him and Wiley, both pretty highly recruited guys, and they've got experience, maybe dealt with a little bit of injuries. If they both can come in and play very well, I think those are big time pickups with pretty good upside.
The Hun School sounds pretty menacing. Who are you guys playing Friday? The Huns.
The Huns.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's what it says.
The mascot needs to be like Attila.
Absolutely.
Like
I was gonna say, could Virginia Tech, now that James Franklin and Brent Pryor here, can you bring? I guess Virginia Tech, James Franklin and Brent Pryor are both here. Could you bring the LBU thing from Penn State down to Virginia Tech now? If they prove to have some good linebacker play in 2026, can we start the LBU thing at Virginia Tech? Cut it to Chris.
They need to show it on the field.
Okay.
On
the practice field. On the practice field first.
Right. Y'all are gonna have to drag me kick. I'm not gonna be able to do the podcast the first time I see him cross train a linebacker. I'm just not gonna be able to mentally do it.
So giddy.
But yeah.
Yeah, for those who didn't see, Chris is like on camera, like squirming like this
Killing
as I say
me.
LVU. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so with that, let's step aside real fast, come back on the other side of this break. We'll get to a couple more transfers and then Virginia Tech basketball. So step aside. We'll step aside. We'll be right back here on the Tech Sideline podcast.
Are you ready for a custom home tailored to your distinctive lifestyle? At Tyrus Homes, a leading custom home builder in the New River Valley, we pride ourselves on crafting exceptional residences that our clients love to call home. Whether you're a first-time buyer, a growing family in search for more room, an active adult seeking a relaxing retreat, or looking for a higher-end custom home that offers luxury and sophistication, we have the perfect solution for you. Discover how you can bring your dream home to life at tyrushomes.com. That's TYRIS Homes.com.
And welcome back to episode 464 of the Tech Sideline podcast. We appreciate you tuning in and so glad you could join us here on your Monday afternoon. Closing thoughts on transfers, Chris. Anybody else we didn't hit on that you maybe want to get to that Virginia Tech fans should know about at this point in the cycle?
The Woosley kid at cornerback from Penn State is a possibility, or at least last I heard he was a possibility. To Virginia Tech, they're up against him from a number standpoint right now, though, so I think they're mostly done. I think they're at 99 scholarship players right now, but they're also at 16 walk-ons, which puts them up to 115. The limit, of course, is a 105-man roster, which means people are going to get cut. And you're going to see probably some walk-ons will get cut. You haven't seen the end of Virginia Tech scholarship players hitting the portal either. Some guys are kind of in no man's land right now. So there's some stuff that still has to play itself out. I think Virginia Tech is mostly done, though, as far as their incomings. Grunkemeyer, of course, is still out there. There's some other positions, like I would love to have another starting offensive tackle, but there's no need to add another guy who's like a redshirt freshman potential guy. You've got plenty of those, right? I would love to have like a starting defensive end or a starting linebacker, but again, there's no need to add like another redshirt freshman who's just competing with a billion other redshirt freshmen at this stage. So I think you're getting to the point where you're recruiting your starting quarterback, who I think is probably already committed. And if you see any other guys who can make an impact and start, and it's like icing on the cake at this point, then you can take them. But I think Virginia Tech is mostly done.
I'll actually go to you here, Andy, real fast before we move to basketball. This is a very basic question, but it's something that everybody's asking on Twitter and on the message boards right now. Very simply, what would be the holdup with Ethan Grunkemeyer, do you think, at this point?
I don't know.
Okay.
Honestly. And, maybe it's something contractual that's what these are when these places these people sign at school. So I don't know if there's something that has to do with a buyout. There are buyouts in previous contracts and stuff like that. So I don't know what his deal was like at Penn State. Perhaps it's just they want to build to this climax at the end of the transfer portal and go, hey, we got all these other 20 guys, and then boom, here's the starting quarterback at the end. I think Franklin, Pry was pretty good at trying to like line up commitments. So there'd be like one a day over the summer. So it'd be like, there'd be like 1 week, typically when Chris was on vacation, that they get like 7 recruits over 7 days.
I wonder where he learned that from.
Right. So I think Franklin does a lot of the same stuff and kind of tries to line up some of these commitments, but that's just pure speculation at my point. I don't really know.
Okay. My guess would just be they want him to kind of be the icing on the cake for this whole thing, where you've put together a class and he's kind of, people, you get to the end where, say you've got 26, figuratively, you've got 26 commitments, and then you go, all right, we're done in the portal because we just got our 27th guy and he's our starting quarterback, right? Maybe that's how they want to do it, but I would just say it's a matter of time. And for all the people on the message boards constantly asking, is there going to be enough room for Ethan Grunkemeyer on this roster? They keep adding players. Yes. Yeah. There will be room for the starting quarterback on the team.
Well,
I can understand why people are like nervous.
Yeah, it's been over a while.
But it's just like nothing is for certain in the transfer portal. Like even if you commit, even if you sign, the Washington guy nearly left. They're going to sue him to make sure he stayed. Even if you commit until you're actually enrolled.
That's fair.
Remember, Bashal Tootin was going to Boston College up until the very last second when Tech flipped him and got him to come here on like the eve of enrolling in classes in January. pretty significant signing in hindsight.
Especially considering what he did to Boston College.
Yeah, true.
Not only did he not go to Boston College, just tore them up every time he played them. But yeah, I mean, I really feel like you look at when classes start and you go, okay, who's enrolled at this point? It's like, these are all great. And I would imagine most, if not all of these guys, I would imagine all, I'd be surprised if a few that didn't, but I think it just makes fans feel a little bit more comfortable once they're actually in the boat and in school and there's not really an exit strategy there.
So what gets announced officially first? The transfer portal ads or the coaching staff?
Buy or sell the
nothing.
coaching staff.
We might go into next August not knowing who the roster is.
Right. Yeah.
The coaching staff announcement comes after January 20th. Buy or sell.
What's today, the 12th?
Today's the 12th. There's
So
no
you're talking
safeties
about-
coach yet.
You're talking about next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Which is the start of the
Class
semester,
is
which
correct.
is the start of
We've
the
waited
Exactly.
so long already. I'm going to go ahead and buy it.
Okay. All right.
It's after?
Yeah, it's after.
bye.
But it's
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't
that's
know.
an
I don't know what the rhyme
impromptu
or
buy
reason
and
is
sell?
with their announcements
Yeah,
of
I know.
anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the safeties coach is still up in the air. But I mean, as far as like portal, like commitments, decommitments go, Hollywood Smothers, the NC State running back, was committed
Yeah,
to
good
Alabama and then flipped to Texas and signed. It's like,
Well,
it's-
Alabama's a poverty program now, so you had to
Really?
hey,
flip to Texas.
shout out to Radford's own Landon Clark.
Yeah.
Nick
LSU.
led Radford, and which Nick Brown called their games, led him to a state championship, and he just after playing at Elon, he just committed to LSU.
Well, and it's funny because Andy was mentioning earlier the financial package, and that obviously plays a part in things with maybe Bryce Baker. Landon Clark is leaving Elon to go to LSU to be Sam Levitt's backup quarterback.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you want to play, but there's probably a good financial package there too. Go ahead,
I
Nick.
just saw a report that Tennessee is making a push for Sam Levitt still. They're not giving up on the
Really?
Not giving up,
Okay.
wow.
All right. Go ahead, Nick. Talk about your Radford Bobcat.
Yeah, I share a state championship ring with quarterback number 2 at LSU. So how about that? Yeah, I called the game, so I did not earn that. Really. I think I've won the ring once, and it was at the ceremony. I just don't feel deserving of it. But really happy for him. It's huge for Radford. I know I texted a couple of the coaching staff yesterday. They're just absolutely thrilled. He was just short. It's just one of those guys out of high school where you just say, man, if they were only 2 inches taller, D1, P4 offers instantly. I mean, he had nearly 60 total. He had over 60 total touchdowns his senior year. Just unbelievable athlete. He can play absolutely anywhere. He just needed to prove it. I thought he should have gone to G5, tear it up a little bit, but I'm sure being the backup at LSU pays a little bit more than being a starter at a G5. And also, he gets developed by Lane Kiffin, who, oh, by the way, took a D2 transfer, who started the season as quarterback number 2, and he took Ole Miss all the way to the semifinals. So,
How much
Lane
eligibility does he have left?
Landon Clark is
3
3.
years. Redshirt.
I mean, it
freshman.
wouldn't be
and look it
that
up, by
bad
the
of an
way.
idea to go to a group of 5 school and tear it up. Look,
Yeah.
look at all these
That's-
group of
yeah.
5 guys that are moving up and getting paid
Sorsby.
after they do that.
Oh, I guess he was at Cincinnati.
But-
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cincinnati. But like the
Cincinnati,
Mestamaker guy
Drew
Yeah.
Messmaker,
in
yeah.
North Texas.
Money.
You see it all the time.
Shoot,
They-
Chandler Morris.
Yeah,
Chandler Morris.
I mean, he went up and down a couple
Yeah,
times
true,
in his
true,
career.
true,
But you get the opportunity there. You put up the big numbers. Everybody's always looking for experienced quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are going to make bank. If you put up numbers at a group of 5 schools, somebody will call you up to the
No
big
question.
leagues after that. Colton Joseph.
Go Badgers,
Perfect.
baby.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect
Yeah,
example.
Wisconsin.
well, and I was gonna. Sorry, you can go, Chris.
Finish your thought on
Well,
that.
I
'cause
was
this is a different subject.
Yeah, well, okay. So I was gonna say, as far as quarterbacks go, you see they make the difference in the game. I mean, just look at what Trinidad Chambliss has done for Ole Miss. Look at what Carson Beck has meant to Miami. They obviously had a great quarterback in Cam Ward last year, but Carson Beck scores the game-winning touchdown in that college football playoff semifinal by running it in. Like Grunkemeyer could be that for Virginia Tech, and you have to have the right quarterback in place. Like we've seen it time and time again. It doesn't matter. You can have the best team, but if you don't have the right quarterback, it might not matter at the end of the day. Quarterback matters.
Trinidad Chambliss, Ferris State.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was in
Before he
Michigan
comes
until
here,
Teal
I mean,
texted
me
it
neither.
to
You
us.
look at Cam Ward's progression.
Yeah. Incarnate Word.
Incarnate Word.
Washington State, Miami, #1 pick in the draft. I think if you're a quarterback, go somewhere where you can play. Go somewhere you can show something on the field, because if you can play and you put up stats, on your way to the NFL, potentially, you will get paid along the way, because people are always looking for quarterbacks.
Hopefully Bryce Baker is not listening. Keep him in the boat at Virginia Tech. Hopefully he's not listening. So Chris, you had another thought.
So Cortez Harris is another one of those defensive ends, redshirt freshman who's transferring to Virginia Tech.
From Penn State.
His social media byline says, "Killing linemen is my second favorite thing to do." Well, I assume in his picture he's in his Tech uniform holding up a whiteboard that says "quarterback killer." So I assume killing quarterbacks is his favorite thing to do.
That's so good. That's so good. All right, so basketball we go real fast. Virginia Tech's back in the win column. 2-2 in ACC play. Chris, we have not talked to you since after the Stanford game. That was a brutal one. But you turn around.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Stanford
Yeah, that's fine.
game.
We'll move past that one. So Virginia Tech falls to Stanford at home. You come back at home and you beat Cal in a back and forth game. Ironically enough, John Camden is the one that has the game-losing turnover in the last 5 seconds. Miscommunication between him and a former Virginia player in Day-Day Ames. So
Crazy.
Virginia Tech beats Cal. They're 2-2 in ACC play. And you have a trip to SMU coming up, which is a massive one for the Hokies, Chris.
The only thing I'll say about the Stanford game is that's one of my top 3 or 4 least favorite experiences ever in Virginia Tech basketball. The Sean Dockery shot being number 1. Losing to Boston College in Castle the week or 3 days after beating Duke, and Dick Vitale telling Greenberg, "Oh, you're definitely in now," and then Boston College comes in and just destroys Tech. It was never competitive. I was sitting there like 10th row midcourt, took it all in. Awful experience. The last 3 minutes of that game ranks right up there with those two, and that's the only words I'll ever say about that game ever.
That's like a slow motion car crash where you saw it happening and you couldn't do anything to get out of the way. They're gonna lose this.
Yep. And came back against Cal, closed the game pretty strong. There's a lot of opportunities ahead of Virginia Tech. Look, if you value your health and your sanity, don't be a Virginia Tech basketball fan. Go back to that schedule. Nick, there you go. Virginia, 10-point game, but it was triple overtime. Wake Forest, 3 points. Stanford, 1 point. Cal, 3 points. Oh, and even go back to the Elon game when Tech closed the game with most of their team out. Was a 1 point loss. Overtime. Yeah, in overtime. So don't watch Virginia Tech if you value your health and sanity. But a lot of quad one opportunities. Unfortunately, they're almost all on the road. You're only one quad one opportunity to win, and that is Duke
at home.
Right. So you've got to find a way to steal a couple of those road games. Louisville's very unlikely also because, they're just loaded. You can beat NC State. You can beat Syracuse. It's a possibility you can beat Ole Miss, but it would be nice to win a couple of those. And definitely beat Georgia Tech and Notre Dame at home, because if you do happen to drop all those road games, you have to keep your head above water by winning your home games.
The ACC's better, which means there are more quadrant one opportunities. Mm-hmm. That's good. The bummer for Virginia Tech is most of those come on the road. I look at that Syracuse game. I go, that's a winnable game, but you got to do it in the Carrier Dome or the JMA Wireless Dome.
I will say though, that game, if it's in Blacksburg, is not a quad one opportunity.
That's
and
true.
Up there it
Correct.
is.
That's
so there
true.
is that side of things too.
The Stanford game, they're up 13 with 3 minutes to go and lose, and everything. Mike Young said it. Everything that had to go right for Stanford and wrong for the Hokies did. Ibuka Okori is probably the best freshman in the country that nobody's talking about. That kid is ridiculous. He came into the Virginia Tech game averaging 22 points. He had 26 of his 31 in the second half. He's really, really good. The Hokies should have been better down the stretch, point blank. They did a lot of things wrong. And I thought in the Cal game you saw them, I thought they handled the final few minutes the right way. Everything that they needed to do correctly, they did. Hokies took a lot of free throws in that game. They made all but 4, I think, like 27 of 31. There you go.
Both teams shot free throws insanely.
Yeah, and Mark Madsen was still complaining after the game about the number of fouls. And that was kind of a slugfest of a game, but Toby Luau's back, which I think just adds a completely different dynamic to this team. They can play Amani Hansberry at the 4 with Christian Gerdak, who's still played very well, but you can also move Hansberry to the 5 and play Toby Lawal at the 4. And you just add so much versatility and athleticism with him there. And that was a big time win. They needed that. They're 2-2 in the league. You go to SMU. That's a really tough game. My expectation is this time next week, we're talking about a team that's probably 3-3 in the league, probably drop the SMU game and beat Notre Dame at home. And you just got to take it game by game. But I think you've seen Chris, the most frustrating part about that Stanford game was they played so well for 37 minutes. I thought they looked like an NCAA tournament team. And then
I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, that's why I'm talking about it. You play really, really well for so long, and then you didn't play well down the stretch. But in the ACC, with the league being better, you've got to find ways to grind out wins. And they've done that for the most part. So I'm interested to see, now that they've got Lawal back in the boat and they're healthy, and Mike Young seems like he's hopeful about Tyler Johnson coming back soon, maybe next week. So I think they're getting back to full strength as much as possible.
The other one that broke my heart, Chris, growing up as like a 5-year-old, was when Tyler Hansborough hit that shot in the corner in the ACC tournament, and he starts running down the floor like this and everything.
Those 2 years in a row.
Oh, that's right. That was the semifinals?
The first was the semifinals, then the next year was the quarters. Now, the quarters didn't really matter as much because Virginia Tech wasn't going to make the NCAA tournament that year either way, but it was still Carolina in the ACC tournament. And that was back when the ACC tournament was always played in North Carolina, and it was still really big. But that semifinal game, that was brutal because that did keep Virginia Tech out.
Yeah,
You know what that game was, I believe? The AD not foul game.
AD no foul.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that was in Charlotte.
Yep.
That was your
That
notepad.
was my notepad.
Yep, that's right.
I wish I'd saved that.
That would be great. It would have been great for the old podcast.
Yeah.
Really would.
Oh, true. Yeah. So you have any update on Tyler Johnson and Antonio Dorn?
Nothing new. Mike Young said after the game on Saturday against Cal that I think he was hopeful. He said there's a possibility that Antonio Dorn plays on Wednesday, but it's a back thing when he's a 7-footer. I mean, I think those things are just it's day to day. To be genuinely honest with you, I think Tyler Johnson thing. I think they're hopeful, but I don't think he comes back this week. I mean, he's off crutches now. He's still in a boot. Maybe if you get him back for Notre Dame or the following week, I think like Syracuse next week, that would be good to get him back for. I think you miss him in some of these big games where the other team has a handful of really good scorers because Tyler Johnson's such a good defender and he rebounds so well from that 3 spot. If you get him back, now you got Lawal back, I think that it's an added boost.
What's coming up on TechSideline.com? David is headed to Dallas this week. Got SMU on the men's and the women's side. So we'll start with you. What's coming up?
Back-to-back days. And I think the women bounce back from back-to-back losses with back-to-back wins. Drubbing Syracuse, drubbing Boston College. And they should, I think, get a third straight against SMU on Thursday. I'll be down in Dallas, men's and women's basketball, back-to-back days. Last time I was in Dallas was for the Final Four. So I'm excited. Get this. The last time Virginia Tech men's basketball played in Dallas was the 1996 NCAA tournament.
Really?
Wow.
Who they
beat?
They beat Wisconsin Green Bay, and then lost to
Kentucky, who was number 1 seed.
Yes. Okay.
An eventual national champion.
Okay.
Wisconsin Green Bay. Was that the Dick Bennett coach team?
Yes, it
might have been.
Okay.
Yeah. So going to Dallas, but we'll have more portal coverage, of course.
Yeah. What about you, Andy? This week on Tech Sideline?
No idea.
Okay.
I wish I had a better idea, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear.
Okay. Chris?
I wrote an offensive article today. Wednesday, I'll do a portal defense article. I have a Brandon Patterson article coming tomorrow. Normal Friday Q&A. Hopefully a Gronkemeyer commitment article at some point, which
we've already got it written.
We got that part of it written up in advance.
It's probably been written for 10 days or something.
It's been written for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Probably. Yeah. Well, and we also recorded Talking with Teal earlier, which is going to post tomorrow.
So, Nick, audio video wise, you got anything else? Interesting week, audio video wise. You good?
Yeah. We just recorded the Talking with Teal today. That'll be posted tomorrow. We did not talk portal. We did that intentionally because we knew we were going to hold it over. but with David going to Dallas and Carter going
Jury
to
duty.
jury duty.
What? Whoa! What's up with all the jury? I'm
jury
not
duty.
checking my mail when I get
They
home.
clearly
Jurors,
think that we're good.
juror 1 and juror 2.
We'll see if I get selected. If not, I'm going to get out of town for like 2-3 days. So we'll see.
Also, but just a correction, that was the year after Dick Bennett left.
Oh,
Wisconsin.
okay,
So
Okay.
Mike Heidemann
Heidemann.
was the coach.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff.
I'm excited for Dallas. I'm going to get some good barbecue.
Yeah,
somewhere.
enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, what I
Go to,
remember.
what was that place we went to? Hard 8?
Yeah, that was really
That
good.
was awesome.
What I remember about that Wisconsin Green Bay game is I barely got to see it. I was 13 years old, so that was the first time, not the first time of my life that Virginia Tech had made the NCAA tournament. Remember, they had been on probation. They hadn't made the tournament since like '86 when I was 3. So this was basically the first time in my life that they made the NCAA tournament. The previous week in Southside Virginia, they had just stopped school basically in the afternoon and put on the ACC tournament in the classroom, so you don't do any
You
work.
wheel in the
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
the
Wheel it
big
in.
box TV.
They don't do that for me when Virginia Tech's in the NCAA tournament, right? So I really wanted to watch that game because I'd never seen Virginia Tech play in the NCAA tournament before. Wouldn't let me because Virginia Tech wasn't in the ACC, and down there the ACC tournament was more important than the NCAA tournament, by God, right? So I get home, get off the bus just in time to watch Virginia Tech dribble the clock out at the end of the game. And then 2 days later played Kentucky, who was the national titles. and there
national
was no
title winning
chance.
team.
Right,
I'm just
right.
looking that up here.
So
Wow.
that was my own. So I really didn't get a real NCAA tournament experience until Seth Greenberg, Xavier Dowdell, Jamon Gordon, 2007.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. So
That's-
you
that was
in
my
great
first.
in Danville, you probably grew up with a lot of just Carolina and Duke basketball
Oh
people.
my
Then,
God!
I'd assume.
When Tech won that ACC tournament, I just wanted to go back to like float back into all my middle school classes and just make a lot of obscene gestures towards a really lot of
Love it.
obnoxious Duke and UNC fans who can't name one building on either one of those campuses.
True.
Besides the Dean Dome
And Cameron, that's it.
Right.
You
Couldn't
should have
even
just
name the
gone
football
into some random middle school down there anyway and done
Yeah,
it.
I
I'm
should've.
sure
Yeah.
nobody would have taken offense at that.
Jesus.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well, for our senior staff writer, Andy Bitter, managing editor, David Cunningham, lead analyst and columnist, Chris Coleman, director of media, Nick Brown, I'm Carter Hill, saying so long from Blacksburg. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you very soon.